Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here today. Welcome to another episode on the brand growth training session. Today, we're really going to talk about 3 reasons why it feels so hard to grow and scale your beauty brand. And we're really going to cover the ins and outs of why it feels so hard to scale. As you're coming in, say hello. Hey, Nakisha, how are you doing? As you're coming in, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you're watching on replay, I would love for you to send me a DM with your notes, with what's happening, what were your biggest key takeaways. So for those who are new, don't know me, I'm going to do a quick introduction. My name is Maureen Mwangi. I am a brand growth strategist, and I help beauty brands by teaching them the sales and marketing strategies they need to turn their beloved product brands into household names. So if you're looking for somebody to help you grow, scale your business, your beauty brand, then you are in the right place. You're listening to the right training, and today I'm really going to talk about why it's so hard to do so. So the first reason why it's really feeling hard for you to grow and scale your business is because you love money, but you haven't learned how to love profit. I'm going to say that again. You love money, but you haven't learned how to love profit. What does that look like? Profit is the money left over after you've paid your expenses, including paying yourself. So if you're making a lot of money, you're making 500,000 and you don't have anything to show for it, then you're not making any profit. You're literally making zero. And so what I want you to understand when it comes to profit is this. Assuming you work at Sephora and the Sephora is paying you, you're making money. So let's say they pay you $40 for selling a primer. You're making $40 from that sale. But when you're a CEO of your company, when you sell that primer for $40 and it costed you $20 to make it, you're making profit of $20. And over time, that accumulated profit is what adds up and becomes cash left over in your business that eventually allows you to scale up your inventory, scale up your production, hire up your team, invest in complex marketing strategies, and pretty much be able to weather the storm when something happens. So that's one thing we always have to understand. And if you're feeling like you don't have that cash overflow, why this is happening is your pricing architecture right now is incorrect. Why do I say that? If you don't have enough money left over, fundamentally, your pricing blueprint isn't accurate. And what I've seen a lot in the product space is many of us do a fantastic job at pricing our product to sell on our e-commerce platforms. But we don't do a great job of ensuring that our current pricing strategy can support multiple channels. How you sell on wholesale, the price point you sell on wholesale is not the price point you're going to sell on retail. And if you're assuming or if you're using the same price point across different channels, you're losing money on the table. And that's why sometimes you feel like you don't have the cash. And biggest mistake I see here, biggest mistake that has been touted in the online space is using the multiplier strategy. I think it's like the 2.2, the 3.3. I have no idea where that came from. I don't know the genesis of it. I have never built brands on a multiplier strategy because at the end of the day, I truly believe even though you're selling a product, you're selling a brand. And a brand is a transformation for your desired audience. Branding is why people buy you. Marketing is how people find you. And that why tends to have a very sentimental aspect. And you have to price your product accordingly because at the end of the day, you're conveying that emotional aspect and people are going to buy you because of the why. And so I want you to understand when you are using a multiplier strategy, what's happening is this. You're subjecting your product to just be a commodity instead of it being a true transformation or an emotional experience. And you're diluting the perceived value. And if you haven't done this, I want you to ask yourself within your product, for the product that you're selling, what is the why behind people buying your product? if you're selling a skincare product and it deals with hyperpigmentation, deals with blemishes, why are people buying that product? What is it that they want to feel after? What are they trying to achieve? What's that aspirational idea that your person is trying to buy? Because that is what I want you to sell. That is what I want you to market. And more importantly, I want you to price that accordingly, because that profit comes from the brand development work that you do. And if you do a very solid job at your brand development, you're going to be able to price accordingly, have profit, have cash flow, and eventually be able to scale. So if you're finding that scaling is feeling hard, feeling tiresome, feeling very grueling, go back and look at your pricing architecture. Do you have enough profit left over after everything is paid? Are you even paying yourself? Let us even start from there. Are you paying yourself? And are you paying yourself a market-based wage? Right? Because the thing is, what happens in our space is this. Because we start our businesses and we're building it up, many times we pay ourselves much lower. And when we pay ourselves much lower, when it comes to when we get to a point where we want to hire a team, we're unable to do so because we've misrepresented the actual cost it takes to have somebody on the team to replace the work that you're doing. And all this is baked into your pricing strategy for your product. You have to remember, this is not something I'm telling you, go and slap $10 on top of what you're selling. There is a pricing formula that you need to make sure you have so that it accounts for your raw materials, the labor process in card to bring your product to life, and also the overhead expenses, the recurring expenses that you are accruing whether or not you sell your product. And those three have to mesh together in order for them to create your, I call it your springboard to profitability. And then now the brand development work is what adds on the profit. And then eventually you have the final price point we see. As I'm teaching this, I just remember a reel I saw the other day of a guy saying, "Oh my God, I just discovered that a Gucci bag, like the wallet parts, it costs about 25." From that reel, I don't know whether it's true. And so the guy was saying, "I actually saw the cost of this bag as $20, but we actually go to Gucci and buy this purse for $1,800. Why the difference?" And the guy was saying, "You're paying for the perceived value." And this is the case. And I'm actually going to share this on the story just to recap what I'm talking about. And you can see if it costs $20, and assuming they're selling it for $1,800, that is $1,780 in profit, which allows them to have the luxury experience when you walk into a Gucci store. It allows them to create higher priced products. That's how I want you to think about that. And there are many other brands you probably bought and you've spent a lot of money, but you probably spent a lot of money because the why was so compelling that the price tag didn't resonate with you, or it just didn't hit you that it was too expensive. That's the experience I want your audience to have, because if your audience can have that experience, you'll be walking smiling to the bank very, very happy. So if you feel like you don't have enough money, go and look at your pricing architecture. The second thing, why it feels so hard to scale, you don't know your numbers, so you can't get to sales certainty. You don't know the numbers in your business, so you can't get to sales certainty. And here's the thing I want to share in this session. The 3 ways to grow a product-based business. You either get more customers, number 1. Number 2, you get your customers to buy more per order. Or number 3, you get your customers to buy more frequently. I'm going to say that again. The 3 ways to grow your product-based business. You get more customers, you get your customers to buy more per order, and number 2, you get your customers to buy more frequently. And so I'm going to give you an example. So grab a pen and paper. You can come back and play this on replay. I'm just going to give you basic math to see how this plays out, and also for you to understand that the strategies to use in your business change depending on where you are at your business, where your revenue is, and the infrastructure that you're trying to put in place. So let's assume this business, I just picked up some numbers. Let's assume this business has 1,500 customers. Currently, the current state right now, in 2022, as I'm doing this video, the business has 1,500 customers. The average order value for this beauty business is $50. And the number of transactions that have been executed so far this year, 2,000. So that means customers are buying on average one time. Every customer who has come into this business, the customer they acquired from the get-go, on average has bought one time. Now, I want us to think about this. So the customer, this business has 1,000 customers. The average order value is 50. The transactions that have happened so far, 2,000. So the frequency in which the customers are buying is one time. That business has generated 100,000. And I'm assuming this is where you are. The business has generated 100,000. So what do they need to do if they want to get to 300,000? I want us to think about this, because this is how CEOs make decisions. What do they need to do in order for them to get to 300,000? Let's say they decide option one, you know what, we're going to really focus on getting more customers, but we're not going to change our pricing. We're not going to change the number of times people buy. So what that means is this: they move from 1,500 customers to 1,800 customers. So the customers have increased by 30%. We're keeping our average price at 50. We're keeping our transactions at what they were before and our frequency at 1. What do you think happens? That business, only by increasing the number of customers, grows to 130K, 129. So they've just gotten an additional 30,000 just by increasing the number of customers. This is what happens. We try to solve for our scalability issues by adding in more marketing. And you can see the jump has only been 30%, but they wanted to get to 300K. Then that year, they realized, just by me doing this by myself, increasing market customers, I was only able to grow with it by an additional 30,000, 29,000. Now, what if I kept my customers at 1,800, but I decided to also increase my average order value? So instead of people paying $50, let them pay $60. Maybe it was an incremental price that the company did. What does that? So what we've changed, the lever here that we have changed from the original is now we've decided new customers at 1,800, an increased price point at $60, average order value at $60, but we're keeping our frequency the same. People are still buying us one time. So we've not changed the frequency in which people are coming to buy our product. What does that do? It moves our revenue from 100K, now we're playing at 170. Just by pulling this two levers, we have our customers have increased from 1,500 to 1,800. So we've increased our marketing, but at the same time, we've also increased our price from 50 to 60. So now we've been able to grow our business by an additional 69,000, getting us to 169. Now, what if now we decided to do all three together? We decided, let's increase our customers, let's increase our order value, but at the same time, let's increase the frequency in which people buy from us. What does that look like? We shift our customers from 1,500 when we started to now 1,800. We shift our pricing from average order value of 50 for your beauty brand to now 60. And then now people were buying us one time. What if we made them come back and buy us twice? That gets your business to 300,000. It sounds simplistic, but that's exactly how you grow. And the reason why I was demonstrating this example is for you to understand that Each of these strategies, getting more customers, increasing your average order value, or increasing your frequency, has a space, a time, and a place for it. And these are the sales strategies that drive the right results without having to rely on any major paid activity. These are the strategies that big brands use most of the time, especially when it comes to growth from sales. Many times when you see big brands marketing or as part of the team, we're usually marketing to remind and prime our audience. But we measure growth, we measure performance, we predict based on these sales strategies that I'm literally articulating to you. And depending on the type of business, depending on your stage, there's a certain level that you pull harder. And so the biggest thing you can have as a CEO is be empowered to know when to pull each strategy. And that's why I demonstrated that the sales growth, that's why I demonstrated the change in sales growth based on each level for you to see that you don't need to be doing many things to get to the next place. But you also need to have the bandwidth to test and see what your audience is resonating with. Because biggest mistake we make, my people, my friends, we really go and do marketing. I'm not shutting down marketing. Marketing is the way to grow. But sometimes if you don't need that marketing, sometimes it's usually a small tweak, a small refinement, then your marketing works. Of course, we all need visibility, but make sure that you're investing in marketing when you have certain things in place. And you're investing in marketing knowing why you're investing in marketing. A lot of times we say we have a marketing a problem, but sometimes it's even more than that. It could be your product architecture or your product assortment. You probably have too many products that you don't even have the clarity on what sells, what's the best performing, why do your audience buy. Secondly, it could be your messaging. So you don't even know why you're selling what you're selling. So you put on your website, it's not converting, but you can't even see that, hey, people don't understand what the message is and what product they should actually buy. So you end up confusing your audience. Then it could be you don't have the right price. So you've priced incorrectly, you're running paid ads, and you don't even have money left over because you've not even accounted for what it takes to acquire a customer. So I want you to ask yourself this question. What's the root cause of the issues that are happening or that you're seeing in your business right now? If you think about it objectively, what would you say is holding you back outside of marketing? You know, sometimes and oftentimes this is personally what I think happens when things don't work right in our business. We say we have a marketing issue. It's like when people don't buy from us, we quickly gravitate to my pricing is incorrect. But I honestly feel like that price is an excuse as to why somebody is not going to buy. Pricing is only expensive as long as it's being compared to something else. And that's how I feel when it comes to growth, when it comes to scaling. We often use marketing as an excuse. But I know deep down, even when I ask people, one of the questions I ask when we're doing an enrollment call or a discovery call is, what do you think has been missing that's making you not achieve your goal? And 99.9% of the time, because we've had a conversation, nobody says marketing because they've uncovered something else. And that's why I want you to step back as you're listening to this and ask yourself, what is stalling my growth? If marketing was not a factor. And I say this because you've already had a few people buy from you right now. So we know your marketing is working. We're not guesstimating. You've had traction. You've already established that there's a proof of concept. that's your marketing is already working. So what's holding you back from moving from 100K to 700K or to 500K? It cannot be marketing. There's something else. So think about that critically. And then if you're open to that, send me a DM of what that would look like. Because that answer is where your scaling and your growth strategy lies. And if you're stuck, that's why people like me exist in the online space, to provide you that clarity, to guide you, to give you that blueprint. And if you're open to that, I'd be more than willing. Just send me a DM and we can get on a quick call to give you that. And so why that is happening is because growth up until right now has actually felt like a happy accident. And it's our job to make it certain. The only way you can make growth certain is through understanding your numbers and by understanding what levers you need to pull. The levers I talked about is getting more customers, increasing your price per order, getting people to buy you more frequently. That is what impacts your profit and loss, your cash flow projections, your customer retention, your consistent profits and revenue, and more importantly, your production and your inventory purchasing. Because I don't want you people to go and purchase inventory and make products just by guessing. It's because at the end of the day, your cash flow, your data is what informs, it is what builds the equation for what production should look like, for what hiring would look like, for what a new sales strategy would look like. And this is why I do what I do, to reduce the mistakes that many of you are making as you're building your businesses. People ask me, why do I do what I do? The reason I wake up every single morning is because I want to ensure that we as a company are eliminating poverty by helping entrepreneurs build wealth, especially when it comes to our businesses. I'm a product of a small business owner. I know what it means when you get stuck at the growth stage. I remember my mom not having enough cash flow to pay for my education. She almost shut her business down, up until she met an advisor that told her, this is what you need to change. And from that, everything changed. And if that didn't change, my friend, my brothers and sisters would not have gotten a college degree. I would not have gotten a master's degree. I would not be in the US. I would not be doing what I'm doing. And people ask me, why is growing and scaling and helping businesses important to me? Is because I know when you have the wrong information, it costs a ton. It costs stress to a family, to the CEO, it costs stress to your spouse, it costs stress to your children, and it costs stress to your entire family, especially if you're also supporting them. I grew up in a place where my parents were also supporting our extended family, from paying tuition fees, from paying their bills, their rent, paying for their food. So poverty for me is very palpable. But the reason why we were able, personally, my sisters and my brother and I were able to be where we are today is because of the business that my mom was able to salvage after she understood what it takes to scale a product-based business. And so this is why I want you to do this work. Go and look at your pricing architecture. If you don't have profit, it is because your pricing is incorrect, so you don't have enough cash flow to help you do the things that you require. And also evaluate whether your pricing can support multiple channels. Hey, your dad, hey, my people. Evaluate if your pricing can support multiple channels. The second thing is this: start looking at your numbers. You're looking for sales certainty. You're looking for sales clarity. They lie in your numbers. If you're trying to figure out what is the next best thing I need to do for my business, eliminate marketing. Remove marketing. And you can go back and watch this video why I'm saying this. If marketing was not a factor, what would you do? That's what I want you to think about. If marketing was not a factor or a lever I needed to pull to grow my business, what would you do? That's where your creative flow comes in. And I talked about 3 different ways. Could it be increasing the frequency to which people are buying your product? Could it be increasing your average order value? And also, now that I'm talking about this, my friends, you're a small business. You guys have seen how the inflation rates have gone up. If you haven't revised your pricing, friend, please go and do so. Please go and do so. You're running a business. This ain't a nonprofit. This ain't charity. Your vendors have probably transferred the costs to you. Have you transferred those costs to your customer, or are you absorbing them? You don't have the cash flow to absorb those costs. The same thing I say with shipping. You don't have the cash flow to absorb your shipping costs too. So right now, you also don't have the cash flow to absorb inflation. So please go and look at your pricing and evaluate, because things are getting more expensive. If you're thinking about also doing some marketing, hiring it out in the near future in Q3, the rates that you were getting in 2021, honey, are not the same rates right now. So make sure you have created that cushion for your business. And the third thing why it feels so hard for you to grow is you don't have a system for scales. You don't have a system for scale. If you're already working like crazy, burning candles at both ends, how are you going to scale, my friend? How are you going to scale? You're already burnt out, you're stuck, you're overwhelmed, your house, your kitchen, everything, all your living spaces are already occupied by how you're producing. You just don't, you cannot scale. How are you going to scale in that situation? But the first thing that you need to do in order for you to be able to scale is really start figuring out your cash flow. The first recipe right now is figure out your cash flow. Ask yourself, do I have enough cash flow? Because here's the thing, my friend, if cash is not flowing at a small scale, it's not going to flow at a large scale. I'm just gonna say that again, my friend. If cash doesn't flow at small scale, small revenue numbers, it won't flow at scale. So you have to make sure that you have the right cash equation dialed in so you can purchase the inventory you need when the big orders come in. Because a lot of times where I see my people getting scared is because they're fearful of, oh my God, what happens if I'm told to make 10,000 of this? They'll be like, I can't do it. And now that's where fear of success comes in. But in order for you to address that fear of success from a strategic standpoint, not from a mindset or a therapy standpoint, is really looking at your cash flow. If it's flowing at small scale, it's going to be able to flow at large scale. If it's not flowing, it's at small scale, it's not going to be able to flow at a large scale. So what you need right now, what you need to do is make sure you dial in that cash equation. And then the second thing, the second system that needs to be in place is your production equation. What does your production equation look like? You need to understand who you need on your team to help you produce your product. You need to understand when this person is going to be hired. You need to understand how are they going to support you. And then eventually you need to think about, do I have in my head a system to train them and equip them to help me produce at scale? Right now as a solopreneur, we do this. We're doing it. We're everything in our business. And so sometimes it can sound irrelevant. It can sound redundant. But when it comes to scaling, you're going to have to get somebody to support you to do what you're doing. But this person that you're getting needs to be trained by you, needs to be equipped by you, and you need to have this clarity first. So that's your production equation. And your production equation how to really think about this is think about your processes. If you're making, what are the steps you're taking, and have you accounted them? Have you accounted those? Have you taken into account the steps in your product making and in your pricing? That's what I want you to think about, because if you haven't, that's it. Pricing architecture is wrong. No profit, no cash flow. The third thing, the final thing when it comes to a system is now when you need to start thinking about a super sharp marketing and sales plan that can get you to grow your business in a sustainable way. You need to now think about, what is my super simple, highly precise marketing plan that will allow my business to grow in a sustainable way. The funny thing is, many of us spend 90% of our time thinking about our sales and marketing plan. But I want you to understand, it is an ecosystem. You can't think about one and ignore the other. You can't think about sales and marketing while you're ignoring production, when you're ignoring inventory, when you're ignoring cash equation. That business will not run like a well-oiled machine. Because at the end of the day, when you're in this growth stage, when you're getting traction, what you're trying to do fundamentally is to make your business run like a well-oiled machine. You're trying to free up more time. You're trying to get time to go on vacation. You're trying to increase your impact. And basically what you're trying to do is really answer this question: how can many people get to know me, but I don't die in that process? And tell me if I'm right, if this is what you're trying to do. That's exactly what you're trying to do. I'm trying to do that, been trying to do that. By the way, I told you guys, I'm not going to be teaching you things that I'm not doing. And that's why I want you to think about this. Think about your cash equation. Cash is everything. Cash is king. And as an entrepreneur, you need that cash, because that cash allows you to do so many things. You want to get into Target and Sephora, Ulta, you name it. They're going to ask you for your numbers. They're going to ask you for profitability. Think about the Shark Tank too. What's the first thing they ask? What's your profit margin? Because they're trying to figure out, does this business have cash, or are they just trying to break even and survive? And so, just recapping what we've talked about, the 3 reasons why it feels so hard to grow and scale your beauty and wellness empire is this. Number 1, you love money, my friend, just like I do, but you haven't learned how to love profit. And profit is the money that is left over after all expenses are paid, including yourself. I need to make sure I emphasize including yourself, because we forget that as solopreneurs. We really, really forget that. I forgot it when I was starting, but now I am never going to forget. It's literally I make sure I account for it, because I also need money to live, but also at the same time, I need to feel like I'm getting paid for the work that I'm doing. So make sure that you're doing that as well. How do you identify that, or why is that a pain point? Look at your pricing architecture. The second thing, you don't know your numbers, so you can't get to sales certainty. Here in this bullet point, I really talked about the 3 different ways to grow your business. Is it getting more customers? Is it increasing your average order value? Or is it getting previous customers to buy you more frequently? Ask yourself, are you pulling these growth levers accordingly in your business? Or are you just really relying on marketing to solve your scalability issues? That's not going to happen. And the third thing, you don't have a system for scale. The first recipe for creating a system for scale is figuring out your cash flow. How is your cash flow flowing at small scale? Because if it's flowing well, it's going to flow at a large scale. So what now you need to do is think about your production equation. How, who, when are you going to hire and equip your person? And then finally, your marketing plan that can allow you to grow sustainably. Those are the 3 things that you definitely need to think about. And so if you're feeling like you're stuck, you really need a blueprint, you really need some support on moving from this hustle and crunch and overwhelm to being able to have the infrastructure to scale without working more hours so you can become a market leader, but more importantly for you to get consistent revenue and profits in your business, I do invite you to book a call with me using the link in my bio on Instagram or using the link in my bio on this thread on Facebook. Just let's have a conversation. Let's talk about where you are, where you want to go, identify what the gaps are, and chat from there. That's all we need to do, because we are here to make business growth easy. You build it, we'll help you scale. Period. So thank you guys for joining us, and I will see you on my next live. I appreciate you all, and have a lovely day and night, depending on where you are in the world. Have a good one. Bye-bye.